Now, let's look at these three infrastructure first. Power. Okay, so typically you are saying you want the populace to focus more on transactions that are cashless in nature. Good. But do you have the facilities to drive this? So, for instance, electricity. How many of our citizens have the phones that are powered by electricity? And even if they do, in the rural areas, for instance, is it possible for them to have access to electricity? Some charge their phones once in a week or once in 3 days or 4 days in view of limited electricity. So for such individuals, you expect them to perform transactions. How do they do so? For the internet-enabled phones, of course, you need the right kind of internet to be able to run such transactions. So again, the question is, do we have strong internet connectivity in Nigeria as it stands? The answer is no. Even right now in the urban cities, when you want to perform cashless transactions, you usually have situations where you have to go to the bank to talk about reversals because the transactions did not pull through. Again, there's the security scare. Okay, so emergency makes it imperative for me to perform a transaction in the night, and I come out and the client is telling me, look, this thing is not pulling through. I have not received the alert, and I am insisting that I have done the transaction, and from my end it's showing that I've done so. And at the other end, the person is saying, no, it's not showing so. Again, we stand there and we start arguing. I'm looking at my left and the right, and I'm wondering whether I'll be attacked. So we don't have the right infrastructure to drive this policy now, and that's what the federal government should be looking at first.
With the cap on the 100,000 naira weekly withdrawal limit that the CBN has placed, what and how would that affect businesses?
It will affect businesses, and in fact, it's about government's policy inconsistencies. On one hand, the CBN is saying we want to empower entrepreneurs. We are giving them interest-free loans to start businesses. And you've given them the loans to start businesses. Some of them perform cash transactions in the course of their business. And then you are coming up with another policy to say, no, you have restrictions as to the amount of cash you can transact with.
It's simply saying you cannot have this cash, more than this cash at hand over the counter, but you can do transactions beyond that amount using your bank app or your ATM card to do transfers and USSD codes, etc., etc. It didn't say that the only transaction is 100,000. 100,000 is just the amount of cash you can have. You can even deposit more than that. So when you look at it from that perspective, I would really want to understand for NECA's concern, because your statement from the director was that it affects businesses. So how exactly would having 100,000 maximum as the cash you can have at hand affect businesses? Okay,
now let's say I'm into the agriculture business. Okay, so I have to go to the bush or the farms to buy produce, right? And there at the farm or the bush, you don't have internet, right? I must give cash. Not so. Otherwise, the produce will not be given to me.
So in other words, it's possible that somebody could just in a day or two exhaust that limit.
Exactly.
And you still need cash to do other things.
And you still need more cash. So what we are saying, in effect, is this is just one area. You have, like I've said, SMEs, MSMEs will be affected negatively by this policy. Now you are driving this cashless policy. See that come January 9, it subsists. And what it means is that you get to banks and you will not find people you call and tellers anymore. Because if in the past they used to receive 50 million a day.
That's why they require more manpower.
Yes.
But now because it's low, you have to drop people out of work.
So many branches will close, and then you'll have lots of people who will lose their jobs. So what is the plan to engage these people who would lose their jobs? Because at the moment, the unemployment rate is 33% and counting. And then you are looking at a policy that will also kill existing jobs. So look at that. And for us, we feel at the moment, the government, yes, we know that sooner or later these jobs will no longer be there. The cashiers, the tellers at the bank, you will no longer have such jobs. But again, you have to put the right mechanisms for a good transition. You have to create jobs that these individuals can transit from where they are now to somewhere better.
So how do you think this can be done? What mechanisms can be put in place? How?
Good. Now, we have also said to the government does not create jobs, right? The government cannot create jobs, but the government can partner with the private sector to create jobs. You have to provide the right kind of environment for businesses to thrive. And at the moment, we are saying the environment is not enabling enough for businesses to thrive. And it's because of policies like these that you have businesses closing shop every now and then. So when you are at the point of creating a policy, do you consult the private sector, for instance? Because again, the recipients of this policy are the employers.